Hey everybody, Alex Kazora, SteelersDepot.com, back with a Pittsburgh Steelers tape breakdown. Today I want to talk about linebacker Payton Wilson entering his second season with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and in the NFL want to review his rookie tape, look at the good, the bad, where he can improve, the impact he made, and where things stand in 2025. Let's talk about it. Before we start, if you guys could like this video, subscribe to the channel, and check out the site, SteelersDepot.com, would really appreciate that. This is not going to be a 100% comprehensive review, just me going through some games last year, trying to find some commonalities of the good, the bad, where things can improve. We're just going to take it in order of the season, broken down though by good and bad. So, early rep here, third down against Atlanta. Wilson, bottom of the screen against Bijan Robinson. Throw the screen to him, the ability to work off the block, to play in space and make that tackle in the open field. If Wilson doesn't, there's a chance Robinson scores on this play. So how about making an impact play in a crucial situation? We're talking about big weighty moments, third down, red zone, week one, on the road. Atlanta scores a touchdown. The crowd's really going to get into it. And so great job here by Wilson to get off the block and make the tackle while playing out in space. A little bit of discomfort there. Wilson, a good athlete, but still you're in a less familiar position being aligned wide like that. And so a great job here by Payton Wilson. We see it on his tape a lot. Probably some film study involved in that too. Empty set, running back split out, third down, anticipate a screen potentially coming his way. And so we see Wilson get off the block right there, do a great job, get clean, and then make a really strong tackle while falling and tackling a guy that's tough to bring down in Bijan Robinson to force Atlanta to a field goal. Let's stick with this Falcons game. I think people might remember that Wilson play because it was so weighty on third and goal, but watch this one later, and this is really the film study, the instincts kicking in for a guy in his first NFL game. Wilson this time not walked out, but playing that traditional off-ball linebacker, but seeing the same formation. Empty set here, Bijan Robinson to the bottom, he split out, and you kind of see the recognition immediately. This is going to go back to that kind of tunnel screen to the running back, and there's Payton Wilson yet again making the stop. I mean, just watch on the snap of the football immediately. There's no read, there's no key, doesn't have to, guess at what the play is. He knows, Payton Wilson knows what Atlanta is doing here, just waiting for the snap of the football. Here's the snap and immediately running over. Cousins isn't even looking that way. Wilson's already making his way over to that side, knowing that play is coming. So, the NFL is all about trends and tendencies, formationally, situationally, and you really see Wilson key into that. Immediately run over, use his athleticism, make the tackle on Robinson. A great job here. Again, if he doesn't make the tackle, who's going to make it? Glad we did not have to find out. So this is really the mental part and the athleticism, the physical part combining, ends in a good outcome. And let's just take one last look at it from the end zone view. And again, just watching Wilson diagnose his play. Snap, he's moving. Cousins has not looked that way, hasn't turned his hips that way. Wilson knows exactly where this ball is going, checks back as he's running to make sure the ball is actually thrown that way, and then get off the block, beat the block, make the tackle in space on a tough guy to bring down. I think this was a first down, but I love the recognition, not allowing that play to become anything more than a couple-yard gain in a first down. That's really important. One common theme from Wilson's rookie year was call him the screen stopper, which sounds like a bad Madden archetype perk, something dumb like that. But Payton Wilson was just cleaning up screens, especially early in the season against Dallas in week 5. Another tackle in open grass. So this one, not the empty set we saw before, but a screen. Wilson keys it, beats the block, and that's Zach Martin too. That is a future Hall of Famer. He's shedding the block of Martin. Probably not the player that he once was, but still, it is Zach Martin. And so Wilson reading it, using his hands, staying clean, and then making that open field, good wrap tackle, grabbing that leg of the running back and bringing him down. So limiting Yak there in, opposing territory, Dallas being in Pittsburgh's territory, making that stop. So you just saw Payton Wilson really take care of a lot of screens early in the year. There's some things to work on in run defense for Payton Wilson. I think it's the biggest thing he has to improve on overall. But whenever he's clean, he can run and hit and make plays. It's really important for this defensive line to play well, to play better. Additions like Derek Carman to make an impact, to keep Patrick Queen and Payton Wilson clean and let them really play to the best of their ability. But just first things first, really quickly, just look at the stature of Payton Wilson. This is a 6'4 linebacker. You don't see too many linebackers in today's modern NFL that are getting smaller and faster of his size. He's added weight this offseason. I think he's around 240 pounds or so. And so to the play itself, staying clean, reading the gap, and then filling the lane, making a strong tackle on the Cowboys running back. So nice job here by Cam Hayward to take two, occupying these doubles to allow Wilson to stay clean, secure his gap here, then fall back a gap, and then make that tackle. Good wrap, good stop by Payton Wilson. This is how Pittsburgh has to play run defense in 2025. It is how they're schemed up to do it. The defensive linemen absorb the double teams. They keep linebackers free. Pittsburgh can do that. They're going to be in business with Queen and Wilson making a bunch of tackles behind that defensive line. But hey, the big reason why you draft Payton Wilson, the run and chase, the perimeter run game. You get a good athlete like Payton Wilson making plays on these tosses. You have a guy that can just truly close space, play inside out, a good angle, and finish with authority. Again, playing clean, letting these guys be athletes. Wilson reads the toss, is right there. Great C to do, and a big hit, too, to knock that running back to the ground. So a nice job here by Payton Wilson. This is what got him drafted, the ability to make these plays on the perimeter. Pittsburgh wanted to add and needed to add more speed at linebacker. Let me find the other end zone view to look at, and you see it on display here. Again, that statue, that long lower half, the explosiveness, close, hit, finish. Great job by Payton Wilson. A little later in the game, but the same principle as we saw 2 clips ago about Wilson playing clean, reading the run, and making stops between the tackle. Similar example here, maybe not quite as pronounced as the other one. Nice run filled by Joey Porter as well, but the double team here from the defensive lineman, Dean Lowry, keeps Wilson clean. Wilson's not cheating. He's in his gap, and then he watches the running back cut, falls back a gap, fills the lane, helps make that tackle. Good support by Joey Porter Jr. as well. So this is what Pittsburgh needs to do more of. It's what they failed to do down the stretch. Queen, Wilson have some things to work on individually in terms of block shedding. We'll talk about it. But at their best, this is how Pittsburgh's defense is structured. Later in the season against the Bengals, and this idea is similar to the Cowboys toss play that Wilson made that stop on, but this is just an extension of the run game, the quick pass game, a swing pass to speedy Bengals running back Chase Brown, number 30, Burrow finding his check down, and then Wilson out there in space making the play. Not going to be something on the highlight reel, I know, but just a nice, solid job working through the trash, getting through that little pick route. I think it's maybe a spot concept or whatever it was here. And then playing inside out, not over pursuing the play, playing to the inside half, preventing the cutback here. You see Wilson, playing inside out. He's not over aggressive with a really harsh angle or anything like that. And then once Brown commits to the outside, closing that gap and making the stop. Let's take a look at it from the aerial view. There was Payton Wilson between the hashes. I don't know if my cursor is showing, if you guys can see it. I'm still getting a couple things set up here before the season, but Wilson working through the trash, playing inside out, good posture, making that open field tackle, using the sideline to his advantage, and that's another reason why you don't over pursue that, because you're going to have help here if you keep Brown to the sideline, and Wilson has the speed to make sure he can't beat him to the corner. You guys have seen this play a bunch of times, but worth looking at one more time before starting 2025. The interception that Payton Wilson had in that win over Baltimore on the wheel route, this coming off the Russell Wilson interception. A great job here by Payton to stay in stride, not turn his head back when he's out of phase as the running back Justice Hill gets a step on him and then finish the play. I still don't know how Wilson was able to take this ball away and pick it off. It's pretty wild, but a great job here that shows his athleticism. I think the Ravens had run this wheel concept earlier in the year. I don't know if he said that or if we looked at it in our film study. There was some tendency there, though, that showed they were going to run this concept out of this, what is this, 3x1, Bateman backside. You get this, curl to hold a corner. You run the wheel or the rail route with the running back behind. But point is, it's a great job here by Wilson to stay in the fight, never give up, take this ball away, and that was a huge point in the game. And then even trying to pitch it to now Miami Dolphin safety Minkah Fitzpatrick, which maybe not the most advisable thing, but I kind of love the spirit of it there. And again, big impact play. Final example of the positives with Payton Wilson, and this is not a positive play for the Steelers defense overall during this collapse that was the last 5 games of the season, but this is what Pittsburgh needs to have more of, frankly, more effort, more heart. I know those are some intangibles that are hard to quantify, but just watch Payton Wilson, and if you didn't see him on your screen initially, you do at the end, and that's him chasing and hawking down this play that he has no business making, was not his responsibility at all. See him off-ball linebacker between the hashes at the 19. He's staying in. Looks like he has maybe the running back here, and then this is a downfield throw to the receiver, and when this ball is caught, let's see where Wilson is at. He is at the 16-yard line, and the catch is at the 40.5, and Wilson's just running all out here. No idea if he'll even impact the play, and he ends up, getting a piece of the receiver, Zay Flowers, to help clean this one up. He's passing by Patrick Queen, which is a poor effort on Patrick Queen's part. I don't know what Casey was doing here, kind of watching this one. You got the corner hanging on for dear life, Beanie Bishop, and here comes Payton Wilson charging hard to make the tackle. That is heart, that is effort. He showed that in spades on his NC State tape. He was playing against Notre Dame where he's running down a play 30, 40 yards downfield making the stop, but you just see Payton Wilson appear on screen. Abracadabra, there's the rookie making this play. So there's a lot of bad on this one, from giving up the play, obviously, to the lack of effort and some of the curiosity from Casey, and not a good look for him or Patrick Queen on this play. But Payton Wilson, hearts and smarts, kind of a guy. You see him at training camp. If last year was any indication, he'll be the first guy out there on the field by half hour before practice, being the first guy out there going through stretches and getting ready for the day. So you love the mentality that Wilson has. It'll serve him well, and hopefully that rubs off on teammates with plays like this. As for some things to work on, this is later in the Atlanta game, and actually you see a similar formation, empty set here. They end up motioning Robinson in, and some miscommunication, and that's always tough to define who's at fault, what are the rules from our outsider view, but it looks like Wilson should not have carried or tried to carry the running back on this mesh concept, that he should be passing that off. You see Patrick Queen point to him. We'll see it on the end zone view, and that Wilson has to pass that off. It's a coverage bust. It leaves tight end Kyle Pitts wide open. Wilson has to track it down. It was a big play. It was called back on a illegal hands to the face penalty by, I think it was left tackle number 70, Jake Matthews. So ultimately no harm, no foul. But you see Queen pointing here, I think trying to communicate the rules on this one. Instead of trying to man up on it and being out leveraged, they're going to pass these things off instead. Wilson late to get that message. By that point, Pitts has him by a couple of steps, and it was a big play. So week 1 on the road, although the road game doesn't matter as much because the home crowd is quiet for the offense, but new environment, obviously, a lot of jitters. Maybe Wilson cheating a bit after making some of those plays against empty early on, but you want to make sure the Pittsburgh is very sound with their communication, especially knowing the problem became late in the year. I do want to say one thing in Wilson's favor. You see a similar concept a couple weeks later, go back to the Dallas game in week 5. Another poor outcome with a touchdown that helped get Dallas back in this one, but we're seeing this mesh look here, and this time Wilson passes it off. He's not taking the tight end. He passes that off to Patrick Queen as CeeDee Lamb comes across. So you saw a guy learning in a similar situation, made the mistake in week 1, being late to take the crosser here. Good communication. It's picked up. You don't love Lamb on Wilson, but just given the coverage there, that's how it was called on that play. So a nice job here by Wilson to learn and grow. Making mistakes will happen for rookies. It's going to happen to everybody. Can you learn? Can you avoid making a mistake twice? That's the big thing. You're seeing Wilson learn from his mistakes. I said earlier in the video, I think the big thing Wilson has to work on is run defense. That's a pretty broad term, so more specifically, things to address. Hand use, block shedding, I think has some work to be done there. And then I think just fitting the run, gap integrity, being a little more aggressive and downhill can also be areas of improvement for Payton Wilson. So sticking with this Dallas game, got this tilted nose look here with Keanu Benton, but watching Payton Wilson this play, just seems like he's layering this gap here. He's in the same gap. There's too much overlap with him and Benton. I assume Benton's in the right gap here. He's a tilted nose. It's going to put him in the A gap, the old Joe Green alignment, so I don't think he's out of position here. And Wilson kind of gets caught up in this traffic. He's right on top of Benton. So you're losing the gap here whenever you have your nose tackle and your inside linebacker, basically on top of each other. Doesn't hurt the play overall. The defense gets a stop here at the line of scrimmage, but Wilson, I don't know exactly where he should have been, probably the other A gap, but point is, I don't think he's in the right position there. So making sure we're fitting the run, making sure that everyone is doing their job, because somebody, if there's out of their gap, odds are that's going to catch up to you, and you can't have your stars, TJ Watt and Cam Hayward, as they did on this play, making all the play and kind of masking some of those issues. So I would love to be able to talk to, I guess last year old inside linebackers coach Aaron Curry, who's now with the Jets, or talk to Mike Tomlin or Carl Dunbar and learn all the assignments on this play, but don't think Wilson was in the correct gap on this play. Gets washed out by the center, and just not a great rep of run defense overall. Another play where it feels like Wilson is not in the correct gap and is astray a little bit, and I always try to give some grace and thought process to mapping out who has responsibility for what gap I should say. And there's one gapping, there's two gapping, you've got to fall back in gaps. I mean, there's different schemes. It's not always a one size fits all approach here, but I'm seeing, Hayward here. What gap is Hayward in? You got Montravius Adams as well as your defensive front. You have Hayward in the B gap. Looks like Wilson should be in that A gap there between left guard and center. He starts to come down initially, and then the back kind of starts to go outside a little bit, and then you see Wilson jump out of it, and then he's trying to get back in that gap, and ultimately can't make the tackle, and Queen and Hayward clean things up. So just felt like maybe Wilson was a little too aggressive, maybe cheating a little bit here, anticipating where the back might go, instead of kind of keeping his lane integrity. You see him jump out there, so the running back cuts back, and then Wilson, tough time getting back in the play. So maybe some debate about, how incorrect Payton Wilson was here, but just want to make sure he's staying disciplined against the run. That'll be a big point of emphasis in 2025. And then to finish things out, couple more clips. I want to see Wilson really be that attack dog downhill, especially after losing Landon Roberts in free agency. Who's going to be that hammer against the run? They add Malik Harrison, but is he going to play a lot? And the goal is for Wilson to see more playing time and get more reps in 2025. He was really used only in nickel packages last year, and even then, Roberts would eat into a snap count a good amount, and so he played less than half the snaps. Payton Wilson did so, but it's him and Queen. I know I talked about, and it's still true, the defensive line has to keep them clean, but they still have to be the hammers against the run. Pittsburgh wants to be more physical, more downhill. So this play, I'm not saying the run is his fault. This was not his gap, but I want to see Wilson come downhill. He's reading run, he's keying run the whole way, and he's just kind of flat and then watching it. I want to see him be aggressive, get uphill, still filling his gap, still doing his job, not playing out of position, but be aggressive, attack. It's a little more passive, more watching, and there's a chance there to really get in the backfield for some tackles for a loss, for more high-impact plays, and it's just seems a little unsure of himself on this play. Is this play action? Am I reading this correctly? I don't know if the wide splits kind of mess with him, but just want to see him, like he sees it right there, he's watching the mesh point, and then he just doesn't take another step forward, and he's just watching, and then the cap of the guard is able to climb to him. Take a look at it from the aerial view. Sometimes we can kind of see guys hesitating and just kind of their steps a bit better from this view. So there is Wilson on the left hash, and you just don't see him get downhill a whole lot. He stops right at the 38, and you just don't see that attack. Like he can shoot that gap and get downhill, either make the tackle or bounce the runner, be that spill player to the outside to your force help, and you see him kind of spin off and not really involved in the play. So just a note here, I want to see Queen be more downhill, more attacking. An even better example of Queen needing to be more aggressive, more downhill against the run came in that second game against Baltimore, and he's got a great opportunity. He sees it clean. There's no traffic. This handoff to Justice Hill, reading it the whole way, and just not quite downhill. Now, he does recover. He does make the tackle. The athleticism shines through at the back end of this play. You see him a lot in these clips, being able to rally and recover. The Falcons game, this game are good examples of that. But like, he sees it, and he's just, if you're a tick slow when you're facing any running back in the NFL, but especially in one known for his speed like Justice Hill, get downhill. Like, the steps right there, they're tentative, they're unsure. He sees it initially, like, we'll go through it here kind of little by little. So the snap of the ball, getting his run key here. He's starting to come downhill, sees the handoff. Definitely a handoff at this point, and then the feet start to kind of just go in place. And he's not getting downhill. He's not chewing up grass at this point, and he's late and he's slow. His base is pretty wide, a little out of position. Hill's able to cut and get away. And, the Queen forced him back inside. That allowed Wilson to rally and make the tackle. But if Hill could have bounced this one, then Wilson's in chase the whole way, and who knows where this play ends up. So Wilson just a little sloppy here. He saw it. Got to trust it more. Trust your instincts. Trust your tape. Trust your keys. He saw it here, stopped, and then tried to go again. Gonna be late at the NFL level, trying to get these guys down. What could have been a stop at the line, maybe for a loss, turns into a, I don't know, is that a 5-yard gain or so? And that is a big difference in the NFL. So one thing to work on, one big thing I think is really just trusting it, getting downhill, being the attack dog for the Steelers defense. Overall, I am excited about Payton Wilson. I think he can have a breakout second season. The tools and the traits are there. Some things to work on, a little more technical, a little more nuanced, mostly against the run. But if this D-line can play better, if Benton can improve, if Harmon can be the impact rookie that hopefully he will be, if Cam Hayward continues to do his thing, keep these linebackers clean, Wilson and Queen can have really strong years. I think Wilson has the potential to become a really good linebacker, just has some things to work on. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and of course, check out the site, SteelersDepot.com. Thank you again for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.